and welcome to the second episode of Scatter. So my name is Coppersprocket, and I am going to talk today about genetics. Basically because they're really, really cool. Genetics is getting more coverage now in schools, but for some bizarre reason, the comments that I often hear is that, oh, it's really hard, or I really don't get this, I don't understand, complaints. And the thing is, it's not that hard. Actually, my class, we had quite a stunning situation. I was the average student. I never put much effort in, so unfortunately, my scores didn't look so great. I was like 60% on everything. And everybody else in that class was like on 80%, and they're working towards getting a 90%, and really, studying all the time and putting a lot of effort in, and then there's me going, And then came genetics. And suddenly, everybody else dropped to 30%. 80, 30. And then there was me, and the teacher did think I cheated for a moment, because I went from being 60 to 90. Which was really rather weird for them, and they're going, what is this? What's just happened? I didn't cheat, but because I thought it was something interesting, I did a little bit of reading beforehand, and then when I went to learn about it in school, it wasn't that bad. So what I thought I would do today is, for those who are in school, if you've already heard a few of these terms, it's not going to be so shocking for you at school. It won't be so hard. If you haven't heard of these terms, then hey, it's great. You'll learn something. You'll get to know something. My friend actually asked me to put this up as a lecture, and I did these little pages. See, dum-de-dum. There's a little person. And it says he's 195 centimeters tall, and this one's 150. My comment down the bottom, if you can read my terrible handwriting backwards, we may look different on the outside, and on the inside we're still pretty unique. Because that's such a catchy entry line. If it was for a friend of mine, or whatever. Let's find out what DNA is. So basically, I did say on the inside, we're all pretty unique to each other, but we all use the same way of getting this information. I mean, that's when you're watching all those forensics shows, and they're like, we can test his DNA, and we've got a match. It's this person, and it's not that other person, because their DNA is different. Okay? DNA is what makes you, you. It's what makes me, me, and me not you. And it's also what makes you work. Okay? It's what makes you do stuff and be stuff. Okay? Some people today still try to call it a blueprint. But blueprints are so nothing alike. Blueprints are, I have a blueprint of a building. It's a massive big piece of paper with images on it. It shows pictures, it shows lines, diagrams, informations about stuff. DNA does not do this. Okay? DNA is not a blueprint. I was actually helping a daughter of a family that's friends with ours, and she was studying genetics, and she goes, help me, this is weird. So I did, and we spoke about the blueprint thing, and then she went to school. First thing she said when she saw me again, she goes, hey, my teacher calls it a blueprint. It is not a blueprint. Don't ever call it a blueprint. Yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine. So, it is a linear code, okay? It's rather much like a computer code, the kind of stuff that's made up of ones and zeros, and I hope that nothing I've written there is rude or condescending or something. It is not a blueprint, okay? It is a code. It is one-dimensional, and it's just going across the screen like this. Numbers. Well, it's not numbers. You'll find out what it is later. Okay, so what I want you to take away from the first few minutes of that, it's not a blueprint. And if you hear someone call it a blueprint, make sure you let them know. Politely, be nice. It's not a blueprint. It is, if anything, a book. Okay, so to use the description of a book, our book of DNA is called a genome. Genome is the book of us. Okay, it's got 23 chapters, and these are the pairs of chromosomes. Okay, so let's consider chromosomes as chapters. We have pairs of chapters. You get half your chromosomes from mother and half from father. Okay, you get it from two sides. So technically you've got 46 chromosomes, it's 23 pairs. So consider each of these chromosomes as chapters. They're called chromosomes to do with the fact when they were like finding them and they were using this like colourful ink stuff and they stained them and there were little stripes on it. They kind of look like that, but you know, better. Anyway, so each chromosome contains many genes. I am not speaking of the genes which you wear. I am speaking of genes as in the genes which code for stuff. You may have heard them say, hey, we're looking for the gene for intelligence. Absolute bogus. If you hear anybody say that, just don't even bother listening because obviously they're wrong. Okay, intelligence requires way more things than just one single gene. It's just ridiculous. But there are things such as the BRCA1 gene, which causes breast cancer, which is involved in the development of breast cancer, actually. And there's other genes as well. And I think scientists sometimes have a little bit too much time to themselves. They start calling certain genes like the Sonic the Hedgehog gene and the Pikachu gene and stuff like that. You do not have the Pikachu gene. From memory, that's some... I can't remember if it's a glow-in-the-dark thingy or something to do with that. But they gave it this name, okay, people? They named it all sorts of really weird names. They have way too much time. Okay, so genes basically take charge of doing things like making you look like you and making parts of you work. They code for those different things. They code for the hormones and stuff like that. They also make, you know, oh, your hair is blonde, your eyes are blue, your eyes are grey, you got great vision, yours is rubbish. You know, the different things like that. Okay, so these genes, these segments of the chromosomes, are sort of like stories, I suppose you could say, and each of those is made up of paragraphs called exons. And they have random interruptions called introns. They're sort of like ads, they're kind of just there, and then they're gone, and we're back to exons. Within these paragraphs, it's almost like you've got sentences, and each sentence would be coding for a protein. Proteins are important. We need proteins. So when Mum says, eat this, it's full of proteins, eat it. But don't eat yourself, because you're full of proteins too, alright? Basically, you're a giant walking bag of proteins, if you're going to put it that way. Anyway, I said that these code for a protein. Code is a very important word. We say the DNA code. How is it a code? Well, let's get closer to the smallest part of the DNA. First of all, we'll go with the words. If this is a book, it's written in a language. It needs words. These words are called codons. They are 3 letters long. And in the DNA alphabet, you've only got a choice of 4 letters. So that kind of limits your choices of how many different words you can have. These words all code for an amino acid. So 3 letters, they're called bases, 3 bases, will code for an amino acid. You get a whole row of amino acids, and they form a protein. So, proteins are made out of amino acids, and amino acids are made from codons, which have bases. The 4 bases are thymine, adenine, cytosine, and guanine. I have heard variations on the pronunciation of these, which is kind of sometimes confusing. So check, you know, what's the common pronunciation wherever you are. That's the common pronunciation that I've been exposed to. Okay, so where's all this stuff from, eh? Anyway, huh? It's just randomly showed up? No. DNA structure. All of this is actually within the nucleus. See, here's my picture of a cell, and the nucleus is there. That's all this other stuff. Mitochondria makes energy and whatever else, who cares? But there's my cell wall, and that green tangly stuff inside is the DNA. It's cool. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. So deoxyribonucleic acid. And hopefully those actually showed up on the screen for you. So if we untangle this mess of DNA strands, it's all mushed up in there, and then we untangle it and make it nice and neatly, and we zoom in, and we will see that it's kind of like this picture here. It's wrapped around these little spools, okay? These orange spools that I've drawn in here are called histones, and the green DNA, it kind of looks like a snake, they're wrapped around it. From memory, it's 1.7 times around each one. Okay, so, who cares? Or do we? We do care, actually. This is a rather new area that they've discovered in genetics, and it's called epigenetics. And these histones are really important because they can be all packed tightly together, or they can be looser. And depending on if they're packed or loose, actually affects whether that gene is, what they say, expressed. If that gene is actually being run. It's like a program that's, they've hit the start button on it and they're running that program. Are they or aren't they? It's to do with those histones. But I will leave that aside for another time. Epigenetics. It's cool. Like, seriously cool. It's also what makes identical twins not identical. Think about that one. Okay, the structure we are most familiar with, DNA, the spindly thingy. It's not called a spindly thingy. If you say that in an exam, you're wrong. It's a double helix. Obviously, helical shape kind of goes like that. So double helix is the two sort of twisting around each other. Okay, it's sort of got rungs in between. When you try to untwist it and flatten it out, where is it? There. Kind of looks like a ladder. Alright? Now those rungs that are connecting across, so two sides of the DNA and the rungs. Those rungs are the bases. Remember earlier I said about the letters? Adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. It's those things again. The thing is, they only pair together with certain rungs. Okay? It's almost like they have an ending which is only compatible with certain things. It's like trying to put your headphone jack into the USB port. Good luck with that. Okay? So basically, adenine and thymine can only pair together. Cytosine and guanine can only pair together. They can't pair to each other because they're just not compatible. If you try to stick a USB in the phone jack, headphone port, it'll just fall out. Okay? Same thing, it just falls out, it won't go in. Righto. So, if we unzip this, remember, broken ladder. Now, we're only going to take half of it, so we're going to pretend that the other half moved away politely. Yeah. We're only looking at the bottom half. If we write down the letters, we start to get a single row of letters like A, T, G, C, C, G, T, T, A, T, A, T, G, A, blah, 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 blah. Okay? It's one-dimensional linear code. Okay, so that's my introduction on genetics. We've gone, it's a book. It's in the nucleus of a cell. The nucleus is a busy place, okay? Trust me on that, it's a very busy place. Yeah, and your cells have this stuff. This is in you. I should have started that. It's in you. And me. And the fish, and frogs, and sponges, and different animals will have a different number of chromosomes and various different genes as well. So, righto. And then we looked at how it's structured. It's a double helix shape. We've looked at the rungs. Those are the bases. that applies to our book of the human genome. Okay, in conclusion, the nucleus is a busy place, constantly zipping and unzipping sections of DNA to read a bit, copy it, send the copy away to be turned into a protein, or to replicate the entire cell and make 2 copies of the same cell. I will leave DNA replication, translation, RNA, and further details on all of that. I'll leave it for next time. We'll call it quits there for that part of today's scatter episode. And again comes time for a review of something. So I will go for a movie. Specifically the Captain America 2 movie. I know I did a Marvel one last time, but this was also the most recent one that I saw other than that, so no choice. Sorry, guys. One day I'll get around to seeing the DC and I'll do a review of that. Anyway, Captain America 2. I'll tell you what, I hate Captain America. Him and his stupid uniform. It's annoying. It's annoying, and he's all like, I'm so righteous, and I will do these really long pep talks. Freedom! Just shut up, go away. Loki. No. He's kind of an irritating character, for me personally. So I didn't even bother watching the first movie until recently, so long after everything else. The only reason I went to watch the first movie was because everybody started talking about Bucky. Now, Bucky was his friend. And I like the buddy movies. I like the movies where there's 2 friends and then they have problems and they have to overcome it. Or, you know, they aren't friends at all, but they gradually become best buddies. I like those. I like those, and that'll be in a talk sometime as well. So when everybody started talking about Bucky and, oh my gosh, Bucky, boo-hoo-hoo, whatever, for Captain America 2, I was just like, what's going on? Okay, I think I should go check the first one first and then watch the second one. So I did. I watched the first one. Okay, cool. That's Bucky. Oh my gosh, he fell off the train. Wasn't he being experimented on? Then I watched the second one. That's an interesting one. Again, I mentioned before, the Marvelverse is huge. Absolutely huge. And Joss Whedon now has his own series with the Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yay for Joss Whedon! Darn that it's not Firefly. So basically there was overlap, which was the other reason why I went and saw it, because I'm going, okay, there's all this stuff happening in the series. Why is it happening? Oh, it's in Captain America 2. Okay, I will go watch Captain America 2. So I did. Freedom. And it was actually not that bad. He is irritating for me personally. And also I don't like the whole premise of he was kind of this weak guy and the only reason he is cool now is he had a serum and it makes him big and tough. Who cares? To quote Sherlock, brainy is the new sexy. So that was kind of disappointing. But the thing that was established in the first movie was he is good. He is a good guy. You know, he threw himself on a grenade to protect everybody else. Okay, kudos on that. Let's go with that. Okay, and then at the end of Captain America 2, I'm trying not to put too many spoilers, but even when it looks like it's totally impossible to remind Bucky of anything, he was still trying. At loyalty there to his friend, he was still desperately trying. And that was really awesome. I really like that. People these days, I don't know, I feel like loyalty isn't really the sort of thing that it used to be. Like, even when you're reading the old books, or Sherlock Holmes, the old Sherlock Holmes books by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Holmes talked people into killing themselves. And it wasn't a bad thing. It was because of the loyalty to your family and the respect and honor of your family name. And by killing themselves because they committed like this horrible crime, They were actually protecting their family. There was a loyalty, a sense of loyalty. So it was really nice to see the sense of loyalty coming out in the Captain America 2 movie. It was really nice. I kind of really liked that sort of idea. At the same time, Hydra. Goodness, are they everywhere. But it really does make you think, how many organizations out in the world today, legit organizations that are trying to say, hey, we want to help people, but how many of the people within it aren't trying to help people? How many of them are actually having their own agenda? How many are doing, horrible things in the meantime and then going, oh, I'm trying to help. Oh yeah, I'm totally part of this group. It really does make you stop and think, what's happening? S.H.I.E.L.D. was supposed to be so protective, and they failed. They failed in being a shield. The shield became a weapon, which I suppose is kind of representative again of Captain America with his shield. He does use it as a weapon as well. He's actually a perfect representation of the entire thing, that this shield can be used as a weapon, and it has to be remembered. Shield could be used as a weapon. Just like he does, that's what Hydra does. Okay? And so that's like really big thinking, like, oh, you've got something that's supposed to be defensive, but you can use it offensively. Is that a bad thing? We cheer Captain America on because it's okay when he does it, but because Hydra wants to, kill everyone, that's bad. Killing is bad. Don't do it. Okay. So basically today we looked at genetics, just a broad introduction. We looked at how it's more like a book, never called a blueprint. Thank you very much. And it is having those different structures, the different parts of DNA going down to the bases, and also how the bases code for protein, and I hinted at epigenetics. And then we looked at Captain America, and the whole shield weapon duality there, which is cool, and also the whole buddy and loyalty thing, which you'll probably notice I do talk a lot in many of my other things. Anyway, next time I shall be talking about, I have no idea, I kind of make this up as I go along, so I will be researching into something and I will see what I will get around to doing. In the meantime, cheers.
Rocket,